Today I'm going to demonstrate the use of gelatine in the making of cold dishes. Here I have gelatine, which is a crystalline powder made from animal hooves and horns, therefore not suitable for the vegetarian diet. I am going to make a milk-based gelatine dish, which you see is setting in crushed ice and salt. Here I have a Bavarian style dessert which has whipped cream in it. Here I have a sponge dessert which is lightened with stiffly beaten egg white. And here I have used the gelatine to make a savory dish which is made from cooked vegetables in a sauce, a spicy sauce, which I have set in a ring form. New on the market is leaf gelatine. This comes from England, and that is what it looks like. To use leaf gelatine, the leaves must be placed in cold water, left there for 5 minutes, taken out, squeezed dry, and dissolved in boiling water. I did an experiment to try and show the difference in the gelling power of the two types of gelatine. In this one, I used 7 milliliters of powdered gelatine. You can see that the jelly has set quite stiffly and it's holding its shape. In this one, I used 2 leaves of leaf gelatine, and you can see that the stiffness of the gelatine is very much less. The jelly is not holding its shape as well as it should. Therefore, I would suggest that if you are going to use leaf gelatine to make a dish in Africa, you must use 3 leaves of leaf gelatine to the equivalent of 7 milliliters of powdered gelatine. This is because of a difference in the climate. We need the high-powered setting ability of the granular gelatine because our temperatures, climate temperatures, are so much higher than those in England where the leaf gelatine is normally used. Today I'm going to be working with gelatine. It has a very, very high setting ability. So if you dissolve the gelatine and you put it into liquid, it will set the liquid and form a jelly. Here I have hydrated the gelatine. You can see that it has absorbed all the cold water that I added to it. And the easiest way to dissolve this gelatine is to either add boiling water or boiling fruit juice to it, or place the Pyrex cup in a pot of boiling water so that the gelatine can dissolve. The Pyrex jug withstands the heat, and the heat from the boiling water slowly dissolves the gelatine until there are no gelatine crystals left in the jug at all. the gelatine is slightly foamy, which makes it slightly confusing to see whether the gelatine has totally dissolved. There must be no crystals visible in the gelatine, and now you can use this gelatine. Most gelatine dishes are partially set, so you find that the juice, the fruit juice or the milk mixture is cold and your gelatine is hot. If you pour this gelatine directly into cold fruit juice, it sets immediately and forms strings. To avoid this, you pour some of the cold into the hot, stir it round to equalize the temperature, and then return all of the gelatine to your pudding. Here I have a partially set milk jelly, which I am going to beat. It's then known as a whipped dessert. I'm going to beat it until it is frothy. It's most important that it is partially set so that it can incorporate the air and become fluffy, and then I'm going to set it in a mold. When you're going to set a gelatine dish in a mold, the interior of the mold must be wet. So we put cold water into the mold, swish it around, and pour the water away. So now you have a wet mold, which is going to prevent the gelatine dish from sticking. Here I'm going to pour my beaten gelatine dish into the mold, and I'm going to either put it in the refrigerator or stand it in ice so that it can set. In this mold, in this metal mold, I have already made a savory gelatine dish, and savory gelatine with no sugar added is referred to as aspic. Now this is an aspic dish, and I am going to add ice, crushed ice, into the bottom of my bowl. To that I'm going to add a handful of coarse salt. This brings the temperature of the ice down to -4 degrees Celsius so that the gelatine dishes will set faster. I'm now going to put my gelatine dish on the ice, and you will see that it is covered with cling wrap, and as I add more ice to it, you will see that the ice doesn't actually go into the dish. You don't want to dilute your dish. And once again, I'm going to add some more coarse salt around the edges to the ice. And I'm going to put this to one side so that my aspic jelly can set, and then I will turn it out. I'm going to demonstrate the making of a gelatine dish called a Bavarian Cream. This is because it has whipped cream folded into it at the end of the process. I'm going to use granular gelatine, 15 milliliters of it, which I'm going to hydrate with cold water. Put it to one side. Then I am going to put my sugar into a bowl and get my boiling water. I'm going to add my hydrated gelatine to my sugar. And to that, I'm going to add the boiling water. And I'm going to stir it until the sugar and the gelatine have dissolved. If the gelatine doesn't dissolve, as it hasn't here, place the Pyrex dish over some boiling water just to raise the heat enough to dissolve it. And that's what I'm going to do now. Often the boiling water that you add, according to the recipe, does not raise the temperature high enough to dissolve the gelatine, and this is an easy way just so that you don't have gelatine crystals in your pudding. Right, the gelatine has dissolved, and to it I'm going to add orange juice, and lemon juice. Now this mixture must be placed in salt, in crushed ice and coarse salt, so that it starts to set, and then once that has happened, I will fold in the beaten cream. The Bavarian cream, the orange base of the Bavarian cream is partially set, as you can see, in the metal pot. I put it into a metal pot because the metal conducts the heat away much faster than the glass bowl. I am going to beat the cream. I'm going to place the partially set jelly into the bowl. And to it, I'm going to add the beaten cream. And I'm going to fold it in. And I'm going to pour it into the wet mold. And put it in the refrigerator to set. I'm going to make a Spanish cream, which is a gelatine dish with a custard base that is lightened with egg white. I'm going to use 15 milliliters of granular gelatine, which I'm going to hydrate with a small amount of water. I'm going to separate the eggs. Into my pot, I'm going to place the egg yolks and the sugar and beat them together. And then slowly add the milk. This is the custard, which I am going to stir with a metal spoon until it is thick enough to coat the back of the metal spoon. The egg custard is now cooked and is coating the back of the metal spoon. I'm going to remove it from the heat and let it cool down slightly. While that is happening, I'm going to dissolve my gelatine in boiling water. The gelatine has now dissolved. I'm going to put that aside. And I'm going to beat the egg whites until they are stiff. Add the dissolved gelatine to the custard. Then fold the egg whites in. And lastly, add the vanilla. As the heat of the custard is inclined to evaporate the flavor. Then pour the Spanish cream into a wet mold. And either set it in the refrigerator or stand it in crushed ice and coarse salt. To make a sponge gelatine pudding, you take beaten egg white, beaten to the soft peak stage, and a partially set jelly, fruit jelly, and you put the two together. And you fold the egg white into the jelly. Remember that you fold with a metal spoon and not a wooden spoon so that the metal edges don't force the air out of the egg white. You've got to fold it in until the lumps of egg white disappear. You could use a hand whisk to do this as well. Once again, use a wet mold. Pour your dessert into your mold and then allow it to set. When you are working with gelatine, it's very much better to use metal molds which transfer the heat out very quickly, because metal is a very good conductor of heat.